The Nine are Destiny's most mysterious characters, present in the lore from the very beginning, but always operating in the background, unseen, off-screen, and rarely heard. They are eldritch gods that are immensely powerful, spanning whole planets, and yet at the same time incredibly weak, and unable to operate freely with full independence. On the eve of Destiny's next expansion, The Edge of Fate, we finally have direct confirmation of their identities, allowing us to retroactively track each character in the lore all the way back to the launch of Destiny 2. There's a lot of background information that builds up to why this is such a big deal, so this video will begin with an abridged history of 9 lore, leading up to the identity reveal, then discuss the implications it has for their lore and the future. There will be chapters with time codes in the description if you want to skip anything. Like many foundational concepts in Destiny lore, the 9 are introduced with the launch of Destiny 1. Every weekend, a mysterious hooded figure named Xur, agent of the Nine, arrives to a different place in the tower and sells rare exotics to players for a currency called strange coins. Xur speaks in a cryptic fashion and completely hides his body under dark black clothing and a hood. His face has 2 glowing yellow eyes, and dark tentacles emanate from under his hood. Xur's dialogue frequently mentions the Nine, and most famously mentions that his will is not his own. His grimoire card, Agent of the Nine, doesn't give much more concrete information, mostly consisting of questions and theories about his nature. Ghost Fragment Legends 2 talks about the Nine in a similar fashion, consisting of a number of competing theories about the nature of the Nine. Some of the theories from this grimoire card would later be reincorporated into their lore as misunderstandings of their true nature. Aside from Xur, the Nine don't become relevant to the main plot of the story until the House of Wolves expansion. During the events of Destiny 1, the Awoken trespass on Nine territory, leading Queen Marasov to send them a peace offering, an infamous Elixni named Skolas. Later, the Nine have Xur release Skolas with a catch, which he uses to try and become the Kell of Kells and retake House of Wolves from the Awoken, kickstarting the plot of the expansion. Why they do this and what agenda they have is unclear. The Nine aren't relevant to the story again until the launch of Destiny 2. In Year 1, Destiny 2 had a PvP game mode called Trials of the Nine, a reimagining of Destiny 1's Trials of Osiris. Players who win could visit a social space called the Third Spire, in an area controlled by the Nine called Unknown Space, where they meet another mysterious agent of the Nine, the Emissary, a mysterious Awoken who works on the Nine's behalf. Some of the armor and weapons from Trials of the Nine contain lore tabs that present a more direct window into the Nine. These lore tabs contain strange writing styles with unnamed speakers. Eventually, the community realized that each represents a member of the Nine. There are 5 distinct styles in the Trials of the Nine lore tabs. Text with normal punctuation, lowercase text, uppercase text with normal punctuation, uppercase text with every letter separated by spaces, and uppercase text with no punctuation. There was initially some confusion about these styles, mainly surrounding the lowercase text. Relentless and Prosecutor each feature one line where the lowercase text uses punctuation. The rest of the lowercase text lines did not use punctuation, so there was some ambiguity about whether this was a mistake or if, like the uppercase text, there were 2 voices who used lowercase text, one with punctuation and one without punctuation. This would eventually get resolved by future lore. The Trials lore hints at the perspective of the Nine, referring to humans as ants, and saying that they went mad trying to speak. It also hints at the origins of the Emissary, with each item containing flavor text with a quote from the Emissary. The lore tab for the Long Walk also contains someone named Orin speaking to 9 ghosts, and other entries were implied to be conversations where an unnamed speaker bargains with the Nine. 3 new Trials of the Nine lore tabs released with Warmind, which contain more cryptic conversations with the Nine. Motion to suppress features the first time the person talking to the Nine speaks directly. They mention they were sent by their queen, presumably Mara Sov, and want to discuss the future. A story was starting to take shape, but the Nine remained incredibly mysterious. With the release of Forsaken, Trials of the Nine was sunset. However, Forsaken contained 3 new lore entries featuring dialogue from the Nine. An entry located in the Awoken of the Reef lore book titled The Emissary made her connection to Mara Sov explicit, mentioning her by name and implying that the emissary initially was sent to the Nine by Mara Sov. The emissary pushes back against the will of the Nine, stating that she is not their pawn and her will is her own even if her actions are not. This is in contrast to Zur, who completely submits to the Nine. In this conversation, the emissary explicitly calls out the fact that only 5 speakers, 1 for each of the Trials of the Nine writing styles, are present in the conversation. The second lore entry, titled Unknown Space, is from the Most Loyal lore book. Varix has a dream where he visits unknown space and talks to the Nine. They manipulate him, prompting him to question his role in the Reef Wars as warden of the Prison of Elders and relationship with the Awoken. Varix states that he wants his will to remain his own. The entry ends with Varix awakening to hear that Cade has arrived to the Prison of Elders. The next entry reveals that Cade has captured Uldren Sov for Petra. Unknown Space hints that, like in House of Wolves, the Nine may have sought to manipulate events to prompt the plot of Forsaken, causing Varix to abandon the Prison of Elders, allowing Uldren and the Scorned Barons to escape and kill Cade 6. The final Forsaken entry, Re-Extinction, is from the Dreaming City lorebook. It mentions Riven being taken, prompting a panicked reaction from the Nine. Notably, it features 2 new writing styles, lowercase text separated by spaces, and normal text with no punctuation. These 2 writing styles never appear again, so they may either be mistakes or abandoned potential syntaxes for members of the Nine who hadn't spoken yet. The inconsistency could be explained away as different syntaxes for 2 of the original 5 voices, but we don't really know what is going on here. Season of the Drifter is where the history of the Nine and their emissary becomes clear. It focuses on the Drifter, the emissary, and their relationship with the Nine. 2 lore books about the Nine were released. One, called Ecdysis, explains the history of the emissary from the collapse to the present. It chronicles how she becomes awoken, serves Mara, leaves with the Earthborn Awoken to try to convince them Mara is good, is killed and is resurrected becoming a lightbearer named Orin, and meets Mara again. It ends when Mara calls in a favor, asking her to investigate Shur Ido's killers, which leads her to Zur and the Nine. She travels beyond the Heliopause to have an audience with the Nine and is changed into their emissary. The second lore book, Dust, features an investigation by Cryptarch Lavinia Garcia Umar Tawil into the Nine, culminating with her taking a portal to Unknown Space and meeting the Nine. In Unknown Space, the Nine explain their history and nature, declaring that they are made of dark matter, clumped in the shadow of the 9 worlds of soul that became sentient as a result of loops in the dark matter, caused by the emergence of life in soul. They exist as wraiths of dark dust, who cannot speak, and are dependent on the existence of soul's life to survive. Dust explains that the arrival of the Traveler to Soul causes the Nine to split into 2 factions, a group of 5 who seek to acquire the light and gain physical bodies, and a group of 4 who seek immortality in their current forms, wanting to build new worlds to inhabit from dark matter. The faction of 5 are the main voices who have been present prior to Season of the Drifter, as they make deals with the inhabitants of Soul, seeking to understand the light. An entry from Dust called The Declaration features speech from all members of the Nine for the first time. It features the 5 original writing styles and adds 4 new ones. Text with phrases separated by dashes, lowercase text with phrases separated by pluses, lowercase text with phrases separated by equal signs, and lowercase text surrounded by periods with vertical lines in the middle of words. The lowercase text writing style also uses punctuation again, which implies that the entries with punctuation are also the same style. The declaration finally allows us to distinguish all 9 members of the 9 in writing, but doesn't tell us who they each are. There was also debate about which 9 worlds of soul the 9 are associated with. The 2 leading theories were the Sun and its 8 planets, per the IAU definition of planet, or the 9 planets of the solar system prior to the discovery of the Kuiper Belt, including Pluto as a planet. We're gonna sidestep the "is Pluto a planet" question because it's outside the scope of this video, but the astronomy behind it has some interesting implications for the 9 that I will probably analyze in a future video after the Edge of Fate. These questions about the 9 would remain mysteries for another 6 years. The 9 next appeared in the Prophecy Dungeon during Season of Arrivals. The Guardian, Eris, and Drifter travel to unknown space to ask the 9 about the nature of the darkness, hoping to use this knowledge to defeat the Pyramid Fleet. The 9's answer is cryptic, but hints at future events via prophecies that would come true in future stories. The Prophecy Armor was a reissued version of the Trials of the 9 armor, this time with completely new lore tabs, where the 9 attempt to answer the question about the darkness by showing the Guardian cryptic visions. Each entry reads like a text adventure, and each of the 3 armor sets features very similar lore, just with slight variations for each of the 5 pieces. Most of it is written with normal syntax, but occasionally the text drifts into the different writing styles of the 9. Notably, only the original 5 writing styles from Trials of the 9 are present. After Prophecy, the 9 don't show up in the lore or narrative for several years, aside from the 30th anniversary pack, which doesn't contain much new story information. They are mentioned offhand in a few places, but the first time we see the 9 speak directly again is in episode Heresy, with the lore tab for the Division. This lore tab is an argument between different members of the 9 about the Witness, and what its defeat means for the 9. Notably, one member of the 9 is absent, one of the original 5 from Trials of the 9. It's unclear if this has any significance. After the conclusion of episode Heresy's story, a special event took place. A community ARG where Guardians solved chess puzzles from the 9. This culminated with a new cutscene, showing the Drifter traveling to the Edge of Soul and receiving a signal from the 9. Shortly afterwards, the next Destiny expansion, the Edge of Fate, was officially revealed. In the stream, Bungie shared that the expansion would focus on the nature of the 9 and their manipulations of the fate of Soul's life, setting the stage for a new era of Destiny called the Fate Saga. Narrative director Alison Lurs also directly stated that the 9 are tied to the Sun and Soul's 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, settling that debate. After the reveal stream, a limited-time event called Rite of the 9 launched, where the 9 test the Guardian, asking them to display their strength and prove themselves useful, so that the 9 may wield them in the future. This event featured 8 cutscenes, opening and closing cutscenes with messages from the emissary, and 6 cutscenes that each focused on a single planet, and contained silent messages from the members of the 9 associated with them. We also learned that each member of the 9 has a name denoted by a number, written via the Roman numeral associated with the number. Originally, the first 2 cutscenes featuring Venus and Earth didn't feature any of the exact 9 syntaxes from the lore, but they were later updated to match the lore. From the cutscenes, we were able to determine the identities of 6 writing styles. Text with phrases separated by dashes is Venus or 2, lowercase text is Earth or 3, uppercase text with normal punctuation is Mars or 4, uppercase text with every letter separated by spaces is Jupiter or 5, Uppercase text with no punctuation is Saturn or 6, and lowercase text with phrases separated by equal signs is Neptune or 8. The writing styles of Mercury, Uranus, and Sol remained a mystery for a bit longer. Alongside each cutscene, the player acquired a new entry of a lore book called Anamorphosis, which features the Nine manipulating the emissary and telling her a story about their origins as she tries to break free from their control. The most notable piece of new information from this lore book is that originally during the formation of Sol, there were more than 9 members of the Nine, as Thea, a hypothesized protoplanet that collided with Earth, forming Earth and its moon, originally was a conscious 10th member of the Nine. Again, astronomy has some implications for the Nine that are outside the scope of this video. 9 days before the launch of The Edge of Fate, Destiny's official social media account started issuing cryptic tweets, one per day at 9:09 a.m. Pacific time. Each post features a different writing style and begins with the number that represents the message. The posts for the 6 already revealed identities matched the writing styles in the cutscenes, which confirmed that these messages are intended to reveal the identities of all 9 members of the Nine. At the time of writing, 8 of these messages have been released, allowing us to identify the writing styles of all 9 members of the Nine by process of elimination. The identities of the Nine are: Mercury or 1 is text with normal punctuation. Venus or 2 is text with phrases separated by dashes. Earth or 3 is lowercase text. Mars or 4 is uppercase text with normal punctuation. Jupiter or 5 is uppercase text with every letter separated by spaces. Saturn or 6 is uppercase text with no punctuation. Uranus or 7 is lowercase text with phrases separated by pluses. Neptune or 8 is lowercase text with phrases separated by equal signs. And finally, Sol is lowercase text surrounded by periods with vertical lines in the middle of words. Sol's number is 9, which is a little bit confusing as it's a member of the Nine, but its name is 9. I'm guessing the reason that this was done and it's named 9 and not like another number like 0 is that Roman numerals don't have a concept of 0 or a symbol for 0, so they had to go with the number 9. But it does kind of make sense that the most important member of the Nine, the 9th world of Sol, is Sol itself. So giving Sol the number 9 does kind of make sense. Each member of the Nine also has a symbol associated with them that can be seen in the Rite of the Nine cutscenes and a few other places, like the Bungie Rewards t-shirt. The symbols loosely incorporate the Roman numerals and take inspiration from the celestial bodies, like Sol's looking like a circle or Neptune's looking like a ship. Knowing the writing styles allows us to retroactively go through all released lore with 9 dialogue, and identify which member of the Nine is speaking at all times, except for Re-Extinction, which contains writing styles that don't match these 9. It also allows us to identify which members of the Nine are in each faction. The 5 that consistently appear together in most of the lore are 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The following quote in the emissary lore entry from Forsaken implies that they are the faction of 5 who seek the light. 1 says, "We are 9. Orin says, "Ha, are you?" 5 says, "Are we?" 3 says, "Truth, truth, count the voices." Orin says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Haha. 1 says, "They will see it our way given time. We are the same." This would then imply that 2, 7, 8, and Sol are the faction of 4 who want to create new worlds of dark matter, as 1 hopes they will convince them to see things their way. I think the purpose of revealing the identities prior to the Edge of Fate is to allow those clued into the lore to start seeing the 9 as individuals, to help set up their actions in the Edge of Fate. This doesn't add radical new information to the previous lore, but does make it much easier to understand and parse, as the writing styles have been solidified into concrete identities. We can also go back through all of the lore and identify which members of the Nine are present in each conversation, which led to the realization that 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are usually present together in almost all of the lore, and 2, 7, 8, and Soul barely appear in any lore. There are a few instances where all of them are present, like Anamorphosis or the Declaration. However, there is one entry where only 8 of the 9 speak, which is the division from episode Heresy. Some people theorize that the member of the 9 who's absent was Mercury because Mercury is still in the Ascendant Plane, but now we know that the member of the 9 who doesn't speak is actually Mars, which has returned from the Ascendant Plane by this point. So it's kind of hard to tell if the absence of 4 means anything in the division, or if it's just kind of like an oversight where 4 maybe had some lines that got cut, or the writers just forgot to put 4 in that lore entry. In order to track the different members of the 9 through the lore, I made a Google Doc that has transcripts of all lore with dialogue from the 9, and labeled the speakers in every single line of every single entry. This was very helpful to understand the members of the 9 as individuals, and track their beliefs and idiosyncrasies. The document I created will be linked in the description if you want to look at the lore with labeled speakers and notes for context about discrepancies. Nothing in this video or the document contains spoilers for the collector's edition lore, because I haven't received my copy yet and am waiting to read it until I do. Because I'm avoiding spoilers, I won't be reading the comments on this video until I've received it. The Edge of Fate releases very soon, and I'm planning to cover its story and lore on the channel. If you're interested in watching that, you can subscribe to be notified when new videos release. I also am planning to try a new format with the release of the new expansion. When new lore comes out, I'm gonna try streaming live readings and first impressions on YouTube to discuss the new stuff with the community. If that's something you're interested in, keep an eye on this channel, join my Discord and activate the role for pings when I post new stuff, or configure your subscription notification settings on YouTube to tell you when I go live. This video was partially funded by my channel members. You can click the join button for access to exclusive perks like monthly bonus videos, your name in the credits, and more. Thank you to everyone for watching.